For further analysis, let's now speak to William Lawrence, joining us live from Washington. He's a professor of political science and international affairs at the American University. Hi, William. So this really does seem to be a deal that all sides have reason to be quite pleased with.
Yes, as you reported, it's been negotiated for 19 years. The negotiations were pushed along by the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the breaking of Russian-European relations, and then accelerated further by the Trump tariff regime and this changing world order that Mark Carney articulated so well at Davos. So what the changing circumstances did was accelerate this deal. This deal was coming, but it was accelerated. Now it's hugely significant, but it's not a full trade deal because full free trade deal because it's not. India is one of the most protected economies in the world. So it's simply lowering those protections more for Europe than other countries. And that allows European high-end manufacturing and agriculture and other products in a way they haven't been before without eliminating those tariffs in many cases. And then this is a huge win for India the other way towards its largest trading partner to get products in that it couldn't in the past, particularly chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and other products. So a big win, the politics of which are just as important as the economics. And it's going to be a model for other free trade agreements around the world. If I can make one more point, Trump is using tariffs as a leverage point and a negotiating point and a political weapon, whereas what the Europeans and Indians are saying, no, sustainable free trade deals, based on the rule of law and that act in a predictable way, are better in this current world economy than the Trump method. So it's a message.
As you say, I mean, this really been negotiated for 19 years, really sped up by Trump's punitive tariffs. How much is this going to offset the impact of those Trump tariffs on India and Europe?
Not as much as one might like, because it's going to take a year to implement. A lot of these tariffs are on a glide path over several years, and some of them down to zero, but some of them not. And Trump himself has been having success in lowering Indian tariffs in certain cases, or challenging Indian tariffs, which will probably have a positive outcome for the U.S. and India at some point when Trump backs off. But what's changing here is the competitive market of Europe and the competitive market for India, in which trading partners of India, which the U.S. is one of the biggest ones, now has European competition. And trading partners for Europe, of which India is one, are going to have more Indian competition. And that benefits everyone, brings prices down for everyone. Creates new trade routes, new predictable trade routes and supply chains and all of that, including car parts, which you mentioned. So it's very good for the world economy when someone goes against this Trump tariff regime, arbitrary tariff regime, and says, look, we can have win-win situations where both economies grow and everybody competes more, which ultimately benefits the consumers.
Do you think that this historic deal between the EU and India will be giving Trump and his advisors some pause as to the tariff regime that they have been pursuing all this time?
Not enough. Trump's mantra, and we see it in domestic and international politics, is attack, 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 never admit defeat, but pivot when you need to. And he did it in Minnesota. He's done it on a number of U.S. issues, and he's doing it on tariffs. And Wall Street's calling him Taco Trump, Trump always chickens out. So Trump won't admit it. Trump won't stop using tariffs as cudgels rather than tools. But he will take note of it. He will notice, that there's another way to go about this. One of the things never discussed in the fraught relations between the U.S. and Canada and U.S. and Mexico is that the USMCA is still intact, and a lot of these products are exempted from these new Trump tariffs under USMCA, which Trump negotiated. And so Trump sort of talks out of both sides of his mouth on tariff. He has originally an anti-tariff position, which is what U.S. business wants, but uses tariffs in this punitive way to gain political leverage and geopolitical leverage. And then it backfires, like the tariffs he just backed off on over Greenland with Europe. So I think Trump will take notice. He won't really learn the lesson, I think, but he will pivot away, I think, from some of the more egregious tariffs, seeing that there's a better way to do this.
Okay, William Lawrence, Professor of Political Science and International Affairs at the American University. Thank you so much for that analysis.